Hey everybody, Matt Aguito here. Welcome to the Health Couch. And today we have Anna Zywien, co-owner of AtoZ Fitt here in Charlotte, and she's also my neighbor. Hey Anna.
Hi Matt.
Hey, thanks for doing this. I think it's awesome to have you on the couch, like on the
Thank
Health
you.
Couch. You and I have talked about kind of my journey for a while, and one of the things I thought was really cool is hearing about your journey. And so I thought it'd be great to have you come in and help me understand as a man and a husband and a father what it's like to deal with a working mom. So tell me a little bit about your story. I already kind of know it, but we got people at home that don't.
Yeah, so I have always loved health and fitness. I was very athletic. I was very lucky with my athletic ability, and I loved exercising and I loved leading teams. My coaches put me in charge of leading warm-ups and leading exercises and leading drills, and I loved it. So I went into physical education and health, and then I taught for a little bit. I got a master's in exercise physiology, and then throughout those years, I've worked at many gyms, and I've just dedicated my passion, my learning, and my career to working in the health and fitness industry.
Got it. That's awesome. And so when, of course, like you said, you had a history there and the passion for it, but when you became a mom, right? How did all of that change for you at that point? Now you had this drive, you got the degree. I didn't even know it was a master's. That's cool to know. But what was it like when you became a mom, wife, mom, that whole thing?
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was an experience that no one can ever prepare you for. So I was in grad school and I had big plans to go on to a PhD. Well, I got pregnant in grad school, and it definitely was hard, because it wasn't quite what I was planning on, but what a gift it was. So I just figured I was going to be a working woman, work really hard, long hours. I wanted to work with the biggest and the baddest that there was. Well, I decided to be a stay-at-home mom instead, and I wanted to try that journey. And along that journey, I found myself being kind of lonely, and I felt isolated. And naturally, I am a social person. I love being in groups of people. So I found myself needing companionship. So that's when I joined a gym, and I was able to find a really great group of friends that we're still friends today, even so many years later. But it's interesting because even though I was a fitness professional, I could not lose the baby weight, and that was very depressing for me because I felt like as a fitness professional, I had to look a certain way. I had to be a certain weight. I had to be a certain body fat, and I couldn't. I could not get the body weight off or the baby weight off. I felt like it was just so depressing. It's hard to explain, but I know a lot of women out there can understand it.
Right.
I had this body image dysmorphia. I couldn't.
It's crazy because I think to even hear you say that, it's kind of mind-boggling because you're just like this little ball of energy, right? And to me, it's like you've always been, because I've known you for a couple of years now, it's like you've always just been, just like Anna, always in shape, ready to go. But obviously everyone has a story and a history there. And so bearing that in mind, like when you were trying to deal with that and then also getting ready to start this business and then balancing that with being at home, because you were a stay-at-home at first and then you're going to start the business. How has that transition has been for you overall? Starting a business, being a mom, having to deal with that, and then also what happened at the time when you were dealing with the baby weight, I guess.
Well, so I'll go back to the baby weight. It wasn't until after having my second child that I got the baby weight off. So, and that was because I focused on whole foods. So once I focused on whole foods, I was able to get back into better shape. The body dysmorphia is always still going to be a thing. I feel most women I know suffer from it, where they just don't feel like they look good enough. And that's something that I deal with and most women deal with. But along the years, I've been able to educate myself and give myself some cues to be able to snap out of it. So going into becoming a working mom, that was a really big transition. Because then I had to find childcare for my children, and that was heartbreaking because I thought I needed to be at home, I should be at home. But when really I was ready to try a new journey, and I had to tell myself that was okay. I had to give myself permission to go to work.
Wow. Yeah. Give yourself permission to go to work.
Yes, because I felt like I needed to be a stay-at-home mom because I felt like I'd be judged if I went to work. So I did. My children, my son was in elementary school. My daughter went to childcare, and I worked. And it was fine. It was great. I felt like I got a piece of myself back because I felt like I was able to live my passion again. I went back into education. I was able to bring more finances to the house, and that felt good.
Right.
I felt like it was a good decision for me. So going from education, I decided to start my own business. And along with my health coach, we decided to go into a business together and create it from the ground up. And at the very beginning, for the first 6 months, the business working could have went 24 hours. I could have worked for 24 hours a day because there's just that much to do when starting your own business. It wasn't a good balance because I was working a lot, trying to create this product from the ground up. So my kids were in school during that time.
Right.
And so from 8 o'clock in the morning until 3:30, while they were in school, I was able to dedicate a lot of time to the business and growing it and creating it. So once I got home from school at 3:30, I would spend time from them, and we would do our nightly routines. And then sometimes I would go back to work, or sometimes I would just go to bed because I was exhausted.
Right.
But while they were in school, I was able to dedicate most of my day to the business. Well, for 6 months, it went like that until summer came, and now the kids are at home, and we launched our brand new program. And so the balance was shifted. I no longer could work from 8 until 3:30. My new day, because of the new program, was 5 a.m. until 1. So what am I going to do with these kids that are at home all day? What do I do with them? How do I make sure they're being fed and they're not fighting, and that they're playing and that they're growing? So I had to find a whole new balance. And that balance is my husband is able to help out.
That's good.
Yes. And when he goes to work, I check in on the kids when I can. After 1 o'clock, when I'm done working, because remember, 5 to 1 is my 8-hour day.
Right.
It's 8 hours. I'm done. I did it.
That's you.
I did it. But the work is still there because when you have your own business, and the work never ends.
Right.
So from 1 o'clock on, I try to spend a big chunk of time with the kids. And then once I feel like we've gotten some really great quality time, it's usually about 2 to 3 hours, I'll go back into the office, and then I'll finish up on emails, I'll finish writing, I'll finish texting, I'll finish social media, I'll finish marketing. But the balance isn't always like that every day, but I do try to make it like that on most days.
So speaking of balance, right? I mean, it's you've obviously gotten to a point where you've figured out what that balance looks like.
Yes, it took some time.
So what were some things for you, especially from the kids' perspective? What were the things that came up from the two children of yours that were like, that just told you like, okay, I really need to get this into check?
Yeah.
You know, like what was that?
Yeah. So for a while, I would say, I have to get this done, kids. I'm sorry. I have to get this done. I'll be with you in just a little bit. I just have to get this done. But the changing point for me was when my daughter would come into the office and she'd say, Mom, I know you're busy, but when you're done, can you come play this game with me? She loves playing this game called Spot It. And I'll say, yes, in 5 minutes, I'm going to set my timer, and in 5 minutes, I'm going to come play Spot It with you. Well, the timer goes off. I turn it off. I have to finish this one thing. And 15 minutes later, she comes in and says, Mom, remember you said you're going to play Spot It with me. And that's when I think, oh, no, Anna, you have got to shut it down. It's time for the kids.
You know what's interesting about that? It's like, I think as a husband and a working dad, and I've been working out of the home for a while now, like, I think about that from my perspective, but sometimes I forget that, you know, a working mom, especially because, you know, my wife, she stays at home, but at the same time, like, I forget that working moms have the same level of convictions around spending time with their kids and wanting to be there for them. But then you have the extra layer of that natural nurturing capability that you all have, dads have that, but it's just different for a mom.
Yeah.
And so I'm assuming some guilt came with that to some degree.
So much.
Really?
So much guilt. Oh yeah, I get teary just thinking about, because not just her, but my son comes in too, and he'll come in the office and he'll just sit on the chair and say, he's interested. He likes the idea of technology and he's interested in what I'm doing, but he'll spin in his chair because he just wants to spend time with me.
Yeah.
And my husband is very good at saying, you need to be done with work for tonight. And I'll listen to him. And when my kids come in and say, will you please play with me? I make it a point to say, this is important. I need to go be with them.
So, all right, I'm putting a pillow here because I'm like almost trying to get protection.
Uh-oh.
Right? But like, talk to me as if I'm like a husband, and you're speaking for all the women out there, the working women.
Working women?
The working women.
Okay.
And you're like, what is the thing? What are the things we need to know as husbands, even if we're working husbands or stay-at-home husbands,
okay,
whatever way you want to look at it, that we need to know, that we need to be more sensitive of towards our wives, our partners, etc., as working moms? Because I mean, you just brought up something about how your husband is helpful, but not everybody has that same scenario. No. And I'm going to even admit here on to the world that I've never been always perfect at it, right? And so what is it? I want to shield it. But
so you're asking, what can a husband do to help a working mom?
That is correct.
Well, I will tell you a piece of advice that my mom gave me. She gave my husband this advice before we got married. She said, do not sit down until your wife sits down.
Wow.
Okay? So imagine this. Imagine I'm working all day and you're working all day and we've had it. We're both tired because we both had long days. Imagine that I come home, I'm wiping tears, I'm changing diapers, I'm cleaning the toilets, I'm doing laundry, and I've worked a full day, but this stuff has to be done.
Yeah.
And you come home and you go, man, I've had a long day. And you go like this, and you prop your feet up, and you turn on the TV. And even though I've worked a long day, I'm still doing all the house stuff and all the kid stuff. Imagine what that would make me feel, how I would feel. For me personally, I'd feel animosity, frustration, anger, and those are just a few of the nicer words. Wow. Right?
And I'm assuming that there are women out there right now that feel that way.
I would think so. Yes. Man. But that could be vice versa though. So
it can be, but I'm just saying, I'm speaking to the guys, as a guy here, and you're right, it can be vice versa. I'm sure you're going to touch it, but it's important for us to be sensitive to those things too.
I think something that you can ask each other is, as husband and wife or as partners, you can say, how can I help you today? What can I do to help you? This is something my husband asks me almost every single day. He says, how can I help you? Especially if he knows I've had a rough day, what can I do to make your day better or easier? And I say, actually, if you could vacuum, and he goes. If you can feed the kids, sure, he does it. I'm lucky because that's the relationship that we have. And I'm aware that not all relationships can do that.
Right, but I think you hit on something. You're right, not all relationships can do that, but I think even though this is not a targeted conversation towards marriages,
right,
it's so critical, even the way you just said that, how important it is, the relationship between the husband and wife and the partners has to be, even if it's just communicatively and sensitively, right, about the household, so that way you can be there for each other, because it's teamwork.
Yeah.
You both live there, right?
That's exactly right.
It's not like, it's not like that responsibility only falls on one person.
No. But each person usually has their own tasks, and I get that. You might want to do the yard work, and your wife might want to do the inside stuff. I get that. We each have our own role. But wouldn't it be great if one day while you were doing your yard work, that your wife came out and said, how can I help you with yard work? Because then you get it done twice as fast, and then you guys get more time to spend with each other.
Wow, that's a really good point.
Right? And same with the dishes. Let's say it's your wife's job for the dishes. What if you just went up and you said, and you just started doing the dishes with her, and you get it done twice as fast? It's helpful.
Wow, I mean, I think I'm pausing because I think for me, even though I'm a working husband and my wife stays at home, I have to continue to be even sensitive towards that and get better. I'm the type of guy that, and my wife, hopefully would back me up on this. If not, I'm sure she can put a comment under the video and say, no, he's not, I don't mind. But, I'm pretty sensitive to say, like, hey, what do you need help with, or whatever. But I think knowing that communication and that teamwork is mutual,
yes,
I think in the marriage is going to be helpful for that working mom to be able to, like, breathe, right? Almost like a woosah, right? Because you already have enough pressure of the world on you. And in your case,
there's enough.
You're an owner of a business.
Yes. And that's a lot of pressure.
And you're serving people.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
that's exactly right.
That's got to be.
So with that, with owning your own business and starting it from the ground up and trying to provide a really great product, there is so much more out there that needs to be done. And I've got to have help with it. And if I don't have help, I'm going to fall apart. And that's going to reflect on my business. Nobody wants that. So I'm just really lucky to have my husband that's very willing to split all these chores with me. Yeah, it's just too much without his help.
That's awesome. I think on that note, I think one of the largest takeaways, several takeaways I've had from this is just making sure that you know, number one, that we understand the position that you're in as an individual, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, sometimes it's a lot on a husband, but like you know, focus on a husband, not a lot, but focus on husband as an individual. Like, these are the things that my wife are doing. She's working. Mm-hmm. She's thinking about the household. She's carrying all of this weight in her mind. And when we have an understanding of that as a team, right? Not necessarily just you knowing it, but we know it. Then being sensitive towards that can help that working mom, right? Yeah. That person who's still dealing with the weight of the world and dealing with the weight of responsibility at home. Yeah. We can come back in and say, okay, or we can come in and say, okay, all right, what's up? What do you need? And even if I'm tired in the day.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter
because everybody's tired.
Everybody's tired.
Hi guys, Zywien here, co-owner of AtoZ Fitt. Here are 4 tips that I want to share with you. Tip number 1, set working hours and stick with them. If your job is done at 5 o'clock, get everything wrapped up before 5 o'clock and leave. Set working hours and stick with them. Tip number 2, prioritize your work. Some work is going to be urgent, some will be important, and some will be neither. Get your urgent work finished. Finish your important work. If it's neither urgent nor important, it can wait until the next day. Also, avoid distractions. You can turn off your watch so you're not getting text messages or emails. You can put away your phone so you're not tempted by social media. When you're working, and you can get a lot more done when you're not distracted. Tip number 3, work with your strengths and outsource the rest. Spend your working hours doing things that you are strong in. If you are not good at social media or marketing, you can outsource that to your coworkers or to friends and family. They'll be willing to help. And tip number 4, you've got to make some personal time for yourself. Take 30 minutes or an hour and make that time just about you. Do something that you enjoy. Do something to help you take your mind off all the stress that you have encountered throughout the week. I know that these tips might seem easier said than done. I understand. But I also know that without finding a balance between working and your home life, life becomes very stressful. So you don't have to be perfect at all of this, but just do your best. Find a tip you think is going to work for you and stick with it. Thanks for listening.